And I'm so happy to introduce you tonight to somebody you all know. She's incredible in this movie, is Ingrid Luna. Please welcome Jennifer Lopez. Standing ovation. That must feel good, Jennifer.
It feels amazing. I'm just sorry that Tony and Diego are not here to see it.
Well, we're so happy this film got made. It's so hard to get movies made now, and I know, Bill, this one you went you've worked with a lot of studios and things. You went the independent route on this.
Absolutely. You wrote it on spec. When you do something like that, you have to have one image of how you're going to get the movie made, and I had one image pinned to my board, Jennifer Lopez. I was hoping she'd be interested in doing this. And I sent it to her, and she called and said, yes.
So you did know. I mean, if she said no,
God knows, right?
You wouldn't have had it.
Kind of, yeah.
Amazing. So when you got it, Jennifer, what was your reaction?
Yeah, I read the script, and immediately I read it in bed. I got it that night, and I read it immediately, and I was just laughing and smiling and thinking, wait a minute, I'm going to sing, I'm going to dance, I get to 12 musical numbers, I get to play 3 different characters, I'm working with Bill Condon. Are you sure they offered this to me? It's not a meeting, right? No, it's yours, it's yours. And it was like a dream. It's something that I had been waiting for probably since I was about 8 years old, when I first saw West Side Story in front of the TV with my mom in my little house in the Bronx. It really was something I had always dreamt of. And here it was in front of me, and I just couldn't believe it. And I called right away and said, yes, I want to do it.
Wow, well, we're glad you did, because I've been waiting for you to do, I mean, obviously Selena you did early on, but a big musical like this, did you ever come close before with others?
You know, I have never been offered a musical, which is crazy, I think. It's crazy, I think. It's crazy. But I think I've never been offered one. I remember auditioning for Evita when that happened. Yeah. Yeah, I went into audition for Evita and for Alan Parker. And I been practicing for weeks and sing my heart out, and there's my thing. And he goes, "You're amazing. You know Madonna has the part, right?" I said, "Okay, bye-bye. Nice to meet you." This is the first time, and it couldn't have been a better one for me, I don't think. I was really, really glad to be able to do it, step into Chita Rivera's shoes, and Sonia Braga, and everybody who kind of did this role before me.
Now, Bill, obviously I mentioned you wrote the screenplay for Chicago and directed many musicals, Beauty and the Beast, Dreamgirls, all those things. But you used a different structure here than the Broadway show. You went into it, obviously, with the idea of separating. It's almost like 2 films in one, in a sense.
Yeah, it is 2 films, and that's how, it's a very dark movie, so you're not going to get a budget at the level of some of those other movies, Beauty and the Beast, certainly, So I thought, if you make a 40-minute musical, and you do it in an absolutely lavish way, that allows you to make the other 90 minutes in a really, really indie way, which is what we did. We shot in New York, and then we went down to Uruguay and shot this whole other movie, and that cost about 1/10 what the musical film did. Wow. So that's knowing that I could kind of spread the pain, made it seem viable.
So you shot this part of Jennifer's role, essentially.
All together.
All together.
Very, very quick.
That's like 11 musical numbers or something that are in here?
Yeah.
So you're really being run through the ringer in a short amount of time.
Yeah, it was crazy. We didn't have a lot of time because it was an independent film, and we had to like shoot. It was not like we had like 3 or 4 or 5 days to shoot one musical number. We just was like, we have 6 hours. It was like, okay. And also this guy over here wanted to film everything in like the old movie musicals where they would do things in very long, one take, one shot. And he's like, I want you to do this because I know you can do it, a musical number from beginning to end because of your shows. I said, yes, I can. And he was like, but that's how we're going to do it. I was like, we'll do some coverage? He's like, nope, no coverage. I was like, fuck me. Okay. I better get it right then. And so you're like halfway through the take and it's going perfect and then you trip on your, dress or whatever, and then it's like, okay, maybe we start over. So yeah, it was challenging. It was challenging in that way, time-wise, but as independent films can be, right? It's the time, it's the prep, it's the, budget, all of it were constraints for us, but, we put our heart and soul into it, and we rehearsed like crazy for the time that we had, and it was a beautiful thing, and again, living my childhood dream, so.
Oh, and the dreams of many people, I felt like I was watching Rita Hayworth. I really did. I think I might have said that in my review. This is the role you were born to play. There's no question in my mind. And not many people, Bill, get to do it now. You get to go back and live that kind of glamour and that kind of scene that was at MGM, every week.
Oh, it's crazy. You were saying before, to step onto this soundstage and be in this village, this enormous set, it just got, and with the lights above it, and then the painted backdrop, you got this tingle of like, oh my God, this is what it must have felt like, It was thrilling.
And you wanted an all Latino cast here.
Absolutely, yeah.
And that was and you got it, with obviously Diego Luna, who I thought was terrific in this film, but also Tonatiuh, who is a real find.
Yes,
here.
He's amazing, right? And someone asked, like, how did you find him? How did you decide that? It was like I was smart enough to put his self-tape into the machine and press play. It was kind of fully born, like in what he presented. But of course, as opposed to Jennifer and Diego, who were our only choices, and they said yes. We saw 800 people or so. I think Tiffany is here. She saw 790 of them, right?
The casting director. Where are you? Okay. She's out casting.
Exactly. But we really put him through his paces. 4 different, sort of audition sessions. The final one with Diego, a session with Jennifer, and because it was casting 2 parts, right? As opposed to other versions of this, he had to also play that musical part. And that a lot of people fell by the wayside because of that.
John Kander, believe it or not, who wrote the music for this with Fred Ebb, is still alive.
Yes.
And he's what, 97?
98.
98. Was he involved in any way?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Because that's incredible.
So scary.
That's incredible to have the actual, of course, he wrote Cabaret in Chicago. You've obviously been involved with him before, but Jennifer, that must
First of all, he's a genius, and he was there. I show up to my first day to sing my songs, and there's John Kander, and I'm like, oh, hey, hello. And he wanted to hear. He wanted to.
Absolutely.
It was me, Tona. We were getting ready to sing our songs and do all that. We were going to do the visit, I think, first, which is one of my favorite moments in there when I visit him in the prison when he's, in the infirmary.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
And that was the first thing that we did, that we heard, and I was just terrified to open my mouth and sing, and when we finished, he was like, that was amazing. I was like, thank you, Jesus. I was sweating. I'm not a sweater. I was sweating. It was terrible.
He's famously the nicest man you'd ever meet, but he's tough. He's tough. Tom, you know him well, right?
He's tough, and he fell in love with Jennifer. He heard her voice and pulled me aside. She's the real thing. He loves this musical. It's, he talks about Spider-Woman in a way that as though it's like his favorite child, and he was deeply caring and involved with this. And as Jennifer knows, I met with her in 2017 and said, it's my fantasy that you'll play Spider-Woman someday. And
He came to my show in Vegas.
and
Came
met with her
backstage.
afterwards and said, please do this. And Cheetah was a good friend, but John and Terrence said to Bill, we want you to make the Spider-Woman that you want to make. And when John met with Jennifer, he was absolutely astonished by her voice and her intellect and the deep artistry that she was bringing to this part. I mean, he is the kindest man alive, but he is tough, tough, tough. And the sense that we had collectively made him so happy was professionally and personally one of the most satisfying things I've ever experienced.
I remember when we were in there and he went to the piano, and I was about to go in and sing a song, or I had sang something, and he went ding ding ding. He starts tinkling on the piano, and you can see the kind of the genius. You know what I mean? And like how easy it is for him. And he's like 97 years old at the time. And he's like, maybe it's this note, and he was going to change a note, and he was like, no, we're going to leave it the way it is. And I was like, oh my God, what's happening right now? It was so exciting.
So great. Tom, I should mention that you were married to Terrence McNally, who wrote the book of the original Broadway show. And so you were here right from the get-go and making sure that this worked with what Terrence McNally might expect.
Terrence died from COVID in 2020. And I wrote to Bill and said, you know, we've talked about this film, and I can think of no greater way of honoring him than making sure that this happens. And as Bill said, he wanted to do it his way, and we wanted to do this independently, and he wrote this script on spec. And when he sent it to me, I read the script on a plane, and I started sobbing, absolutely sobbing. And I had read a study once that your emotions are heightened when you're on airplanes. So 24 hours later, I locked myself in my office and read it again and cried even harder, and just really became obsessed with getting this movie made with these people in the way that we did it.
Yeah, I should mention that the part of the gap in the story is I met with Terrence almost 10 years ago, you know, and then we hit this brick wall, and enter Barry Josephson, because he unlocked this thing that had been impossible to figure out. And
Yeah, Barry, how did you do it? That was my next question.
I'm the luckiest producer on the stage right now, because my office let me know that the rights were available for the book. And so from the Wiseman family, I was able to option the rights for the book. And then I called Tom, who I knew controlled the music rights. And I was very fortunate that Tom told me a few secrets. Jennifer's story, that Bill was interested, and I made sure to say to Tom, Bill Condon, the writer and director, that Bill Condon? There's not some other Bill Condon. And it all came together so quickly, and primarily because Jennifer said yes, and they were able to make a movie around her, and Bill's script was brilliant, and he did write it on spec. It's a complete auteur's movie. And Greg Yolen, sitting next to me, such a brilliant producer, works with Bill on all of his movies. Really, I owe it to him and to Bill for producing this movie and putting it together on every single level. And I think, honestly, without Tom, we couldn't be here tonight. So thank you all.
Yeah, Greg, talk about your relationship here in working with Bill on so many.
Well, sure, and thank you, Barry. I mean, you know, I would say that this all really, you know, came out so slow until it came out incredibly quickly. And obviously Jennifer was the factor that changed everything, and the support not only of Jennifer, but of Elaine Goldsmith-Thomas, who's here, and Jennifer's whole team, who immediately jumped in and just, you know, carved out time when they had this much time, and they gave it to this show. So we were able to move incredibly quickly, and it was not only that, but also, as Barry mentioned, because the script that Bill had written was something that pretty much everyone who put eyes on it just agreed, that's the movie. Let's go make it. There wasn't a protracted process in which we had to, you know, figure it out or note it. It was just everyone got it, and it built an army of, you know, fanatics, and then we went.
Wow. I think this film, among many things that it is incredibly relevant to now. Somehow, Bill, I think you've happened onto the zeitgeist. I think it's the right time.
Well, it's interesting because I started writing it kind of right before the election season started, you know? And I was very much aware that that the trans people were being demonized, you know, that was going to be a factor in that election. I had no idea that it would turn out the way it did, or that we would have military people on the streets, you know, so that is, you know, unfortunate kind of turn of events. But yeah, even though it has maybe become even closer to the truth, I think what's happening now didn't spring out of nowhere. It's been with us for a long time, so.
And it's heartbreaking to watch the scenes in the prison and know that that's actually ripped from life that's going on now.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Can you talk about filming those scenes with Diego?
Yeah, the great thing was we went down there and rehearsed it like a play. It's a two-character play, you know. Then that's the thing. We rehearsed down there for 3 weeks, and then we shot it in order across 3 weeks. And on this tiny little set, you know, it was like living in Vegas. You'd show up in the dark and leave in the dark, and it really felt like we were all, you know, in prison. But it was such a, especially for those actors, you know. But then it's one of those things I've never had it happen before, where it's like you're deep into it, and it's like you're about to shoot a big scene. It's like that I wrote, and it's like we don't need this scene. We kind of moved past it, you know. The actors, the performances, emotionally, the bond has already happened. So that was, it was one of the great experiences of kind of its quasi-theatrical cinematic experience of making the prison movie.
Yeah, really, but it's so effective, and you know, I thought Diego was just so good in this, because we've seen, you know, there was the other movie that won Bill Hurt an Academy Award that wasn't a musical, and you know, so this has had different iterations, but I think it's their own. You all have really made it your own again on film at the right time. There's no question. Jennifer, I wanted to ask you too about. I think you were involved with the design of some of your costumes and working closely with the costume designers here and everything.
Yeah, I mean, when you're playing like 3 separate characters, you know, there's a lot of thought that goes into like what each one will look like and what they represent in the movie, and you know, how kind of, this is all in Molina's imagination, even though she was a real character, you know, how he saw her, how he idolized her, and kind of, you know, put her on this pedestal. And when I was working with Colleen Atwood and with Bill, because we all worked together.
It was Christine, who's here.
Yes, and Christine, it really was a collaboration. But
I think we've got the whole crew here tonight.
we have the whole group. Who's here. But Colleen really came in with like, you know, sometimes I work with costumes and they come like with racks and racks of dresses and things and jeans and all kinds of stuff, and they're like, okay, let's figure it out. With Colleen, she was like, had a sketch for each one and kind of a mood board of what she thought it should be, and then asked me if if it worked for me and what I thought about the character, and I would pick, yes, I think this works better, or this color is for me, or this is that, but she was very specific about what each moment in the movie should look like for me, you know, from that gold beaded dress that was 50 pounds. It was 50 pounds. And I had to dance in it with 6 guys, okay? Backwards and heels, in one take, one shot. But she was very specific, is all I'm trying to say, and it was a very different experience for me, because I was like, oh, that's it, we're just going to do that suit. She's like, yep. I'm like, okay. And it was beautiful. You know, she just is a very visionary and specific, which I think a lot of, just like great directors, they are. They know what they want, they know what they think it should be, and they go for it. And they don't have a lack of, you know, there's no wavering in that sense. And it gives you confidence, because when you put it on, when I put on the Spider-Woman, you know, kind of outfit for the first time, I remember in the fitting, right away I was like, You know what I mean? And I looked over my shoulder and, you know, she gave me the glove with the nails on it, and I was just like, okay, I know exactly how I'm gonna move, how I'm thinking, what I am, what I need, what I want. Everything starts coming clear to me. Because I'm a dancer, I feel it very physically in my body, so the clothes matter, very much so. They really become part of the character.
Yeah, and to that point of creative contribution, Jennifer rehearsed for months and worked with Bill way ahead of filming the movie, and then before the movie, during the movie rehearsals that were remarkable, that we all watched and we marveled at. So her commitment and her creativity is on display in the film in a major way.
Thank you so much. You know, they said we I guess talked about doing the movie later in the year.
You talked about
No, not talk about filming it. I said I signed on at the end of the year, and then it was like, we're not filming till March, and we're not gonna start rehearsals in New York until like late February. You know, it was close. It was like 3 weeks or something like that, and I was like, oh no, I have to start right now. I need to start learning these songs right now. So yes, I did do it for months before everybody started.
Oh man, what was the biggest challenge for you? Because I know you had to take some songs from the show out.
a lot of songs, and as Tom said, this is the Kander masterwork. You know, I think Kander loves opera, and I think it's the closest he came to opera. And the score is magnificent. And of course, I dropped 60% of it, you know, which is painful, you know.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite songs, Dressing Them Up, which Molina sings in the beginning, isn't here. You know, I tried every which way to figure out how to get in, but the fact is, we were creating these two worlds, and the musical numbers existed either in the movie or in these visions, or at the end, you know, a moment of death, you know. So on stage, you know, the prisoners sing, there are big busted women over the wall. We couldn't have singing prisoners, I didn't think, at least. I didn't want to make that movie. I wanted to make a movie that played with, but if you want to ask, the biggest challenge, and the thing you don't know until you put it together, was making sure that the interruption of the prison, the movie, the prison, that people didn't start resenting that you were moving from one world to the other. So that in all the work we did with Tobias Schliessler, who's here, who's the
cinematographer.
It was all about, more than the obvious thing of like, they look so different, they actually start to fuse into one, you know? So that when you, in the visit that you talked about, when you come to the infirmary, those are prison lights, but they turn into kind of down spots, like very theatrical, you know? So that it didn't, you start to feel like it's one movie. I think that was the crucial thing. We all held our breath. Actually, right before we left, right, remember, guys, we showed the cut of everything we'd done, and we were all really, really nervous, and we thought, oh God, I think it's gonna work, yeah. No.
Well, this, you know, Cabaret obviously did that. Bob Fosse revolutionized the way to shoot a movie musical taken from a huge stage hit, and he had the same problem you had. He had to cut songs and everything else. Everything was done in the Kit Kat Club except for one number.
That's right, yeah. And that to me remains the gold standard, you know, that is, and I think, you know, John Kander tells the story of seeing that movie for the first time, and Fred Ebb, and they were like, oh my God, what is this? You know, because so many things were missing, but because he'd had that experience, he was sort of very open to what we were doing, you know, and I think that the point is that show exists forever. You'll produce it again, Tom, you know? We didn't do anything to the show, we just did this other production of it that's very different, you know?
It made it so cinematic.
Yeah.
And I love musicals on the big screen. I'm so happy to see that they're not dead.
I know.
You know, that they're still being made and you can still do it.
Well, let me just shout out to Roadside too, to Howard Cohen who's here.
Howard's here, yeah, the head of Roadside, which is releasing the film on October 10th.
Yeah. But one of the decisions they made, Dennis O'Connor has been in charge of all the materials, is to sell it as a musical. It's right there in the trailer, you know.
They usually hide it.
They usually hide it, you know. So it's very exciting to be with this group of people who are embracing what the movie is.
Right. And that's good, you know,
Yeah.
because I know Howard and they really believe in this. They're excited to get it out there. And all of these people are going to tell everybody. They And Jennifer, you're also a producer on it as well with Elaine. Longtime partner. It's not a vanity production company. I've interviewed them before, and they have done tons of projects as producers, which is important to you.
Yes, we're real producers. It's so funny. Somebody asked me that today. What did you do as a producer? I was like, plugging everything. You know? Wow.
Get the money.
Got the funds, did the, raise money, did, everything from script to casting to every single part of the movie that they, the director, I always defer to the director, will let me be involved with or needs my help with. As a producer, that's what you do. You support the
100%.
director and, kind of making the movie that he wants to make. And then I would step back and do my little acting, singing, dancing thing.
Did you watch a lot of old musicals?
Oh my God, I grew up on musicals. I know all the musicals, and thanks to my mom, I do. And because she was in love with not just musicals, but with movies. And so I grew up on them, and I really knew what this was. I knew what it was, and I've been waiting my whole life to do this. This is not something I'm just saying. That is the truth. It is the real thing.
And Jennifer, it was very sweet when your mom came to the set.
Then you know, because she started singing and
She
dancing.
really
Anybody who knows my mom
so
knows this.
I was just going to say the same thing. I mean, it was so thrilling to watch your mom watch you
Oh no,
star in a musical.
she's over the moon
Your
about
mom,
this.
your sister, your niece, I mean, it was everybody.
Yeah, everybody came to the set. You can't keep them away. If I'm working on the set, the whole family comes down. We're Puerto Rican, what can I tell you?
The day that Jennifer and John Kander sat together, we were sort of kicking each other and also trying to hold back tears, because to watch a global icon at the height of her artistic powers with a 98-year-old legend who is saying, I trust and love you, and what you're doing is a gift to me at this stage in my life and in my career, we were all pinching ourselves, and to have a night like this where we can share it with you and to tell a queer love story at this moment in time feels particularly powerful.
So great. It premiered at Sundance, and you hadn't been there in years when you premiered Gods and Monsters, and so this is full circle for you.
It's a weird reenactment of that. That was the other one where I sat and did it, wrote it and got the independent money, went there, and Roadside Lionsgate picked it up. It's sort of, it's like reliving that.
Yeah, so cool.
Yeah.
And thank you all for sharing the secrets of Kids and the Spider Woman.
Thank you. Thank you so much.